Hey, this is Dan from Real Mac Software, and as always, we're going to take a look at what's new in RapidWeaver Elements this week. Now, if you've been following along, you'll remember last week we looked at the layer element, and we've been doing some more work on that, and we've added animation capabilities to it, and it's really cool and really powerful. So let's jump in and have a little look at what it can do, and then I'll show you how I put those things together. So I've got this document here, and this is just just building a website with a basic grid and kind of doing some different effects in each one. So we're in edit mode now, as you can see by the highlighted section. And if I roll into this image, it increases in size. And there we go. And that's really nice, smooth animation, very simple. So that's just scaling an image up as we roll over it. Now this next one here is again another image, but the animation starts when I roll into the grid section, and that's because we've made the parent item trigger the animation. So we don't need to roll into the actual graphic. It will happen when we roll into the grid item. Now I'm going to go over to preview mode here, so we don't have to watch all those bounding boxes as the animations happen, because they're a little bit off-putting, and it looks better without. So in this one, again, I've set it so that when we go into the grid item that the animation happens. And this is a bit more complex, this one, because we've got multiple items here and we're scaling them by a center point there and just fanning them out. That's 2 items there, but we could have as many as we want. For example, now this one here, we've got 3 items, and this is moving 2 images and a text layer. So you can put anything you want inside the animation layers and move them around. So it's really powerful. As we can see, this one here, I'm actually animating the whole grid item there. So it's growing in size and rotating it. And there, that's just animating some more text. And we've got this one. That's just a big animation there. And you'll notice how when it goes outside the bounds of the box, it's actually it's clipping. So we're clipping the graphic so it doesn't overlap anything else. And you can switch that on and off depending on the style of the animation you're doing. And finally, we've got this one here, which is kind of a play on this one. I've got 3 icons, and they just subtly move apart a little bit more slowly, just to reveal that, yeah, maybe this would be a feature on the RapidWeaver site, saying, yeah, it supports these file types. And that's quite a nice way of doing that, just a little subtle animation. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go over to my other document, and this is without the animations on. Oh, apart from that one there. This is without the animations. And so I thought what we'd do is I'd drag in a layer, and then we can rebuild a couple of these animations, and you can kind of see how it works. So if I go over to our elements and I drop in a layer, so we've got the layer element there, and we need to take this image and we need to drop it into there. So now you can see here, I've got my grid item, and the section, that's the background area. If I pop over here, you can see that's my background there. I'm just got a little gradient on it. Then I've got my layer and I've got my image. So right now, nothing happens. So we need to go and change some of the effects in the layer element. So if you remember from last week, it was very bare bones, the layer element, and we were kind of more looking at placing things on the site, and it's a good way to move things around. Now that we've added animation, you can place things where you want and also animate them. So we've got the sizing here. So if I wanted to resize that element, I could do. So it's now takes up 50% of the width. We would just need to move that into the center, which we could do on the section, but we don't need to worry about that now. So that's kind of the sizing. We can set the timing, how long the animation is, and the style. Again, this is not finished, so we will be adding more options, but you know, this is kind of to give you a good idea of where we're headed. You can set the position of the element. Now this is important because if we want these 2 things to overlap, we're going to need to absolute position them so that we can get them to overlap rather than sitting on top of each other like this. So, and then we get down to the effects, and I can set the before and after here. So this is where the good stuff happens. So to recreate what we had before, we just want to increase this in size. So the animation effect is turned on, this little one down here, because we want it to animate, so we've turned that on. And we want it to animate when we roll into it, so we'll leave it on self. And because this is the initial state and this is the after state, we will just scale this. We want it to appear larger, so we can test that. So you can see I'm in edit mode and I can just change these things here and we can test how they are. And if I change the scale here, you can see that gets smaller. And there, let's put it back down to 1. So there, so that's quite nice. We've got that effect going on. And now let's get the layer again to do this next one. Ooh, not a section, I want a layer. And we'll drop that in there. And let's go and find that. There's the layer. And this, we want this to be big and then kind of fade in when you hover over it. So what we need to do for that, we want the, let's do the size first. We want it to be large. We want it to be something like that. We'll put it at 2. And we also want it to be blurred. So let's blur it out. And we want to turn the opacity down. So there you can see that starts to flick in. But I think what's happening now, we obviously need to, it's not happening when we go into the element. It's only happening when we're in the image. And because it's scaling, it's a little bit flickery. So we don't want that. We want to put it on the grid item. So now that only happens when we go into this grid item. And the animation is a bit fast. So let's slow that down to 500 milliseconds. There, that's not bad. And we could go even slower. So you can see that happening. And what we can do is this allows us to pick a parent, like to pick something else. So right now it's happening on the grid item, but we could get that animation to trigger on the whole grid. So even if I roll in down here, the animation triggers, and that's because this is all these items are all part of the main grid. So that is that's super powerful, and you could probably do a lot of fun things with this. You know, I could get everything to animate at the same time. Like if I went back to this one and I set that to grid, now when I go in, both of these animations happen. And I could set that for the whole thing, but that would be quite a lot. We want to leave that one on self, and this one, let's turn that back to a grid item. Yeah. So that's how that works. And now we can look at these, and we're going to need to position these. So let's drop on a layer, and let's drop the image in there. And where are we? There we are. I might duplicate that. Yep, and let's drop the other image in there and get rid of that one. There we are. Right, so I've got 2 layers. And what do we want to do? We want to actually, let me remove that. I'm wondering because that's going to get in the way. We'll just pop that one over there for the minute. So you can see I've just dropped that into there, and it's you know, because it's part of the layer, that's working. But I just want to work on this one for the moment. So what do we want? So this is positioned relative, and we just want this to move out of the way. So when we animate on this, let's change the rotation a little bit. And when we hover, we want let's get it to rotate a little bit more, and we want it to move to the side. So that would be on the horizontal. Let's see, 10. Yeah, so you can see that's now animating out. And it's currently doing it from the center point of the image, but we can move that to the bottom left, bottom right, and then the animation, kind of that's the anchor point from where the animation will start. But I'll leave it as center for the moment. Now let's get our other layer back. Let's drop that into there. Right, now we've got him. We want to, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to position this absolute. And so this is on the parent layer, and we want to make this smaller to match the other one. So now, so you can see, because when I set that to absolute, it was 100% width because it was using the width of the container it was in. So, and that was the section there. So I'm just getting this to a rough size. And now we're going to want to move this into the middle, which let's have a look. We should be using, yeah, we're using the center point. And then let's move that down and maybe 35. And what's this one? 25. So I'm just getting this in roughly the right position here. And then I'm going to want to rotate that one the other way. And then rotate it a little bit more when I roll into it. Now you'll notice the other one isn't animating because, or generally isn't because I'm not hovering over it. So that only happens when I manage to catch it there. So we're obviously going to need to change that so these both happen at the same time. Horizontal, let's give that -10, -30 maybe. There we are. So now we want to change that to this animation to happen on the grid item. And we need to do that with the other one. We want that to happen on the grid item. So there we go. So now, and that is how we put those together. You know, I could duplicate this one. So now we've got one more. And if we move the position of this one, there you can see, and let's rotate it that way. You could easily build up a whole stack of these. And where do we want this one? Could go 20. Let's have a look. And let's keep it in the middle. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Yeah, so these are now starting to look like someone's kind of just scattering these on the table. Let's turn that one. I mean, it's so much fun to play with these animations here. It really is. It's so flexible. Yeah, so now that's animating from the bottom right corner, so you can see that's, yeah, it kind of changes the look. And of course we could slow that down. But we've only slowed that one down, so we could slow each one of these down if we wanted. Let's put that on 300. I'll change this one to 300, and we'll go this one, 300. So there. So you can see those are just all animating now, and it is, you know, once you start playing with this, it's kind of fun because we could blur that one, we could blur the background one, and they could come into focus. There we are. When you hover over them, so you can, you know, you can have lots of fun with this, doing whatever you want. So, and that's, you know, that's how, it's the same principle for this one, slightly different animation, but it's very cool, very flexible. So what else was I going to show you? I was going to show you the clipping and how that works. So if I go and grab another layer, and what we want to do is we want to put, let me just drag that one in there, pop that in the layer, and there we are, there's the layer. Now let's rotate this. So if I rotate this, you can see it's overlapping the other content. And often, like this one, if we've got that, you don't want, otherwise these arrows would be out here, you know, would be lying on top of other elements, and you don't want that. You sometimes want to keep things contained. So what we've done is we've added an option, like on this container here, on this section container, I can go up and I can say clip content, and this will hide any content inside this that overlaps. So if I just check that, you can now see that chops it off and just keeps it well within that its own element. So like that. And again, let's change that to grid. So now, oh yeah, when I hover inside the grid anywhere, it kind of jumps into I tell you what, I wanted grid item. There we are. So now let's go over to preview and have a look at this. So now when I go into that grid item, it zooms back, which is nice. And that's that one we built, and that one. So you can see we've just built up 4 different custom animations here, and it's all super, super quick. Let me just let's drop a layer in here just before I finish up. So like I said before, you can kind of drop anything in here. So what I can do is I can drop this entire grid into a layer element. And now when I change these effects, so if I change the rotation here, it changes the it affects everything inside it, and that includes this whole page here, which is kind of mind-blowing really, that you can do this. And you know, I don't know whether you would want to do this on a web page, but you can do, and it's pretty cool to be able to play around with these things so easily. And I can scale it there. I mean, this is some big content here, so this is probably fairly intensive. I don't know how this would fare on older machines, but it's very cool. And obviously the other animations we did still work in there as well. Let's just, yeah, so they're still working. So the possibilities with this is really, really endless. Yeah, it's very cool, and I've had a lot of fun this week playing with this and building things, and I personally really can't wait to put together the Elements website, you know, using all of this new technology, because it makes it so enjoyable to use and so easy. You know, this is all happening in edit mode, which is crazy. It's just so nice to be able to work directly on this stuff. You know, I can just edit the text there and it's all live, and it all works, and that is amazing. So I hope you like the look of where the layer element is going. We are going to add some more features to it, so you can trigger these animations on scroll position and things like that, because I think that's important. And it's something that I would like to do, and I think it's quite a common thing now that people want to do. You know, it would be nice if I could scroll and have these images fan out. So that's one of the things we're going to be working on next week. I haven't covered a lot of the stuff we've worked on this week, but I just wanted to show you the layers, because that's the biggest wow thing. But we've done a lot of other things to the finishing up the UI. As you can see here, this is looking really neat and tidy, and it's all part of the polish phase that I talked about before. So all right, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up for this week, and I hope you like the look of the layer element, and I hope your mind's kind of buzzing with ideas of what you could do with it and what you could build on your own sites with it. So that's it, and I will see you next week for another Elements update. All right, thanks for watching this. Cheers, bye.